This engine is over 40 years old. Your grandfather trusted one. Your father probably owned one. And today, millions of people are still driving them with 300,000 or even 500,000 miles on the odometer. Now compare that to a modern SUV that's barely 6 years old, already facing turbo failures, carbon buildup, expensive sensors, and repair bills worth thousands. Car companies promised more power, better fuel economy, and cutting-edge technology. But in chasing efficiency, many sacrificed the one thing drivers value most: reliability. So why are naturally aspirated engines quietly becoming the most desirable powertrains again? The answer might change the way you shop for your next vehicle. What they replaced and why. To understand the realization, you need to understand what was actually swapped out. A naturally aspirated engine does one thing in a way that no other engine type can replicate. It breathes freely. Atmospheric pressure alone fills the cylinders. No turbocharger compressing air and forcing it in under boost. No intercooler cooling that compressed charge back down. No wastegate managing how much pressure enters the combustion chamber. No compressor wheel spinning at hundreds of thousands of revolutions per minute on a film of oil thinner than a human hair. The power curve is linear from idle to redline. Press the accelerator and the engine responds instantly. Not after a turbo spools up, not after a boost threshold is crossed. Every revolution of the crankshaft delivers exactly what the throttle position asks for. Nothing is managing the relationship between input and output except the mechanical connection between your foot and the engine. The industry called this limitation. They called the lack of peak power per liter old thinking. They pointed to fuel economy tests, emissions figures, and horsepower numbers and told you a smaller turbocharged engine was objectively better. On paper, specifically on the standardized regulatory test cycles used by governments to measure fuel economy, they were right. A 2.0-liter turbocharged four-cylinder making 250 horsepower could achieve better fuel economy ratings than a 3.5-liter naturally aspirated 6 making similar power, because the test cycle uses light throttle at steady speeds where the turbo is not working hard. What the test cycle does not measure is what happens to that turbocharged engine at 90,000 miles. And that is where the truth lives. The problems people were not warned about. Turbocharged engines brought three categories of problems that owners of naturally aspirated engines virtually never encountered. Two of them require expensive preventive maintenance. One of them can destroy an engine without warning. Start with the most insidious: carbon buildup. Every modern turbocharged petrol engine uses gasoline direct injection. The fuel sprays directly into the combustion chamber rather than into the intake port behind the valves. This design improves power and efficiency on paper. The cost is that the intake valves never receive a wash of fuel over their backs. In a port-injected engine, fuel continuously sprays against the intake valve stem, cleaning away oil vapors and combustion deposits. In a direct injection turbocharged engine, the valves only ever see air. Hot air mixed with oil vapor recirculated from the crankcase. Over thousands of miles, this vapor deposits onto the valve surfaces and bakes into thick, crusty carbon that narrows the airflow passage into the cylinder. The symptoms appear gradually: rough idle, hesitation under acceleration, loss of fuel economy, eventual misfires. The solution is walnut blasting, a service where a technician removes the intake manifold and blasts the valves with crushed walnut shells to mechanically remove the carbon. This is required every 50,000 to 70,000 miles on most turbocharged direct injection engines. It typically costs between $300 and $600 depending on the vehicle and the region. It is maintenance that simply does not exist for naturally aspirated port-injected engines. The design does not allow carbon to accumulate there. Fuel washes the valves clean on every injection cycle. The second category is the turbocharger itself. A turbocharger is a device that spins at between 100,000 and 300,000 revolutions per minute depending on the engine and load condition. It operates at temperatures above 900 degrees Celsius at the turbine. The turbine shaft and bearing are separated by a film of engine oil so thin that a single particle of carbon or metal debris in degraded oil can act as abrasive grit between the shaft and bearing, wearing the surface down and causing failure. Oil-related issues account for over 90% of turbocharger failures, according to engineering analysis of real-world turbo breakdowns. One specific failure mode is called hot shutdown. You drive hard, sustained motorway speeds, towing, spirited driving in hot weather, and then stop the engine immediately. The turbocharger has been spinning fast and running hot. The oil that was cooling and lubricating its bearing housing stops circulating when the engine stops. Residual heat from the turbine bakes the trapped oil inside the housing into hard carbon deposits, a process called coking. Those deposits then damage the bearings on the next startup. Replacement cost for a failed turbocharger, typically $1,500 to $3,000 in parts and labor. None of this exists in a naturally aspirated engine. There is no turbocharger. There is no bearing operating at those temperatures. There is no housing that can coke the oil. The third category is the most alarming and the least discussed in mainstream automotive media. It is called low-speed pre-ignition, and it is unique to turbocharged gasoline direct injection engines. LSPI is an abnormal combustion event that happens at low engine speeds, typically between 1,500 and 2,500 revolutions per minute, under high load. Exactly the conditions of everyday driving, accelerating from a junction, merging onto a motorway, climbing a hill at low speed with full throttle applied. In a normal engine, the spark plug fires the fuel-air mixture at a precise moment. In an LSPI event, the mixture ignites before the spark plug fires. The ignition source is typically a microscopic droplet of engine oil that has entered the combustion chamber, vaporized from the turbocharger bearing or the cylinder walls, which auto-ignites under the extreme pressure and temperature conditions created by the combination of turbocharging and direct injection operating simultaneously. The pressure spike from a single LSPI event can exceed 200 bar of cylinder pressure. Normal peak combustion pressure in a petrol engine is around 50 to 70 bar. A single severe event at 200 bar can crack pistons, shatter connecting rods, and destroy the engine without any warning. No noise before it happens, no sensor light. One event and the engine is gone. Research from the Southwest Research Institute has confirmed these pressure spikes. The automotive industry has acknowledged LSPI as a real failure mode and addressed it through specific oil formulations. API-SP specification engine oil contains additives designed to reduce LSPI events. But the key word is reduce, not eliminate. The failure mode exists because of the engineering architecture itself. You cannot LSPI a naturally aspirated engine. The conditions that create it, high boost pressure combined with direct injection at low RPM, do not exist in an engine that breathes atmospheric air. The EV promise and the reality gap. While turbo engines were creating their own category of ownership surprises, electric vehicles arrived with a different set of promises. Zero tailpipe emissions, lower running costs, simpler drivetrains with fewer moving parts, software-driven everything. This was not merely the next engine type, it was the end of the engine entirely. Some of those promises have proven largely true. Electric motors are mechanically simple. Battery degradation is better than feared. Geotab's 2025 to 2026 study of 22,700 real-world vehicles found average degradation of 2.3% per year, translating to around 81.6% battery capacity remaining after 8 years. For most owners using their vehicle normally, batteries are lasting well. But the picture has complications that brochures did not prepare buyers for. Consumer Reports 2025 reliability data found that electric vehicles still have 42% more problems than equivalent petrol-powered cars. A significant improvement from 79% more problems reported in 2024, but still a meaningful gap. The problems are concentrated in charging systems, software, and the electronics surrounding the powertrain. The same software integration that was marketed as a feature, over-the-air updates, large touchscreens managing everything from climate to mirrors, has proven to be a significant source of reliability complaints. The mechanical simplicity of the electric motor is partially offset by the electronic complexity of the systems around it. The financial surprises come from two directions. Battery replacement out of warranty, for the small percentage of owners who need it, costs between $5,000 and $20,000 depending on pack size and manufacturer. For EVs built from 2022 onwards, the replacement rate is just 0.3% of vehicles, but that number rises sharply for earlier generations and for vehicles that have been driven hard on high-speed DC fast charging. Collision repair tells a different story. On average, a damaged EV costs roughly 1.5 times more to repair than an equivalent petrol car because High-voltage battery systems require specialist handling and safety procedures that conventional body shops are not equipped for. The range limitation is not an engineering myth. It is a real daily management calculation that naturally aspirated petrol owners never made. Cold weather reduces range meaningfully on almost every EV.
Temperatures this cold can have an impact on your vehicle.
Yeah, but the frigid temperatures can also bring a special set of concerns to those electric vehicle owners.
High-power DC fast charging above 100 kilowatts accelerates battery degradation to around 3% per year, double the rate of AC home charging. The charging infrastructure outside of select urban markets and motorway corridors remains inconsistent enough that long-distance travel requires planning that a petrol stop never did. None of these are reasons to dismiss EVs as a category. The technology is improving, costs are falling, and for many usage patterns, an electric vehicle is genuinely the more rational choice. But they are reasons why a significant number of buyers who transitioned to EVs have returned to thinking about petrol engines with a new kind of appreciation. What people are actually realizing. The realization spreading through owner communities is not that naturally aspirated engines are perfect. It is that the specific problems people are now dealing with in turbocharged engines and early generation EVs simply do not exist in a well-maintained, naturally aspirated engine. A naturally aspirated engine does not have turbocharger bearings that can coke. It does not have LSPI events that can crack a piston without warning at 80,000 miles. It does not require walnut blasting every 60,000 miles to keep the intake valves functional. It does not demand specialist oil with specific API ratings to prevent abnormal combustion. It does not have a high-pressure fuel pump that feeds a direct injection system under several hundred bar of fuel pressure. All of those components, each a potential failure point, each with a repair cost attached, simply are not there. What is there is simpler. A throttle body that opens directly in proportion to your foot's input. Port injectors that spray fuel against the back of intake valves, keeping them clean as part of normal operation. A combustion cycle operating at pressures the engine was designed around, with no forced induction multiplying thermal and mechanical stress. A turbocharger replacement cost of zero because there is no turbocharger. The data from high-mileage, naturally aspirated engines tells its own story. Naturally aspirated four-cylinder engines from mainstream Japanese manufacturers consistently reach 200,000 miles with nothing beyond routine oil changes, filter replacements, and coolant service. Honda's J35 V6, a naturally aspirated engine used across multiple models for decades, has documented examples approaching 400,000 miles in normal road use. Fleet vehicles equipped with large displacement naturally aspirated V8s routinely exceeded 200,000 miles in police and taxi service. Conditions that involve constant idling, frequent aggressive acceleration, and minimal sympathy from drivers. A 2023 Consumer Report study found that turbocharged engines had a 12 to 18% failure rate at 100,000 miles, compared to 5 to 10% for naturally aspirated engines. J.D. Power data indicates that turbo engine owners spend $300 to $800 more per year on maintenance costs compared to naturally aspirated equivalents. These are not fringe findings. These are the numbers emerging from years of real-world ownership experience with the engines that replaced naturally aspirated units. The realization is simply this: the trade-off the industry presented was not as clean as the marketing suggested. More power per liter came with more complexity per mile. Better fuel economy on the test cycle came with higher maintenance costs in the real world. The turbocharged engine is not worse in every respect. It is more powerful for its size, and in the right driving conditions it delivers fuel economy that a larger NA engine cannot match. But the premise that it was simply better in every way, and that giving up simplicity cost you nothing, has been tested by time and found to be wrong. The honest verdict. The engines that the industry phased out were not relics of outdated thinking. They were the baseline against which every replacement has had to measure itself. And the measurement, conducted in workshops and repair bills and roadside breakdowns across a decade of real-world use, has not always been flattering to what came next. A naturally aspirated engine rewards the driver who maintains it properly with decades of service and predictable, honest mechanical behavior. It does not ask you to think about boost pressure, oil specification for LSPI prevention, turbo cool-down periods after hard driving, or intake valve carbon intervals. It asks for clean oil, clean filters, and normal mechanical care. And in return, it delivers power that responds directly to your right foot without mediation, without lag, and without a turbo seal that might be weeping oil into the charge pipe at 95,000 miles. People are not rediscovering naturally aspirated engines because of nostalgia or because they are resistant to change. They are rediscovering them because they have spent several years paying the real-world cost of what replaced them. And the comparison, in the cold light of a workshop invoice and a repair bill that arrived without warning, is more honest than any brochure ever was. Have you had turbo or EV problems that made you think differently about simpler engines? Drop it in the comments.